Ladies and gentlemen, good evening and a very warm welcome. Welcome to the Misfits Racing League Tier 1, here live from front, the Circuit Paul Ricard, two very long straights, and of course the epic right-hander of turn 11, where the daring drivers might try and overtake. My name is Frostbreath and I will be taking you through tonight's race here in Tier 1. Unfortunately, Dan Field couldn't make it here in time. I'm personally not entirely sure where he is, but he will not be here tonight, so I will be here. And I can say I'll finally be here, because actually I was supposed to commentate Tier 1 for the past 2 times already. But due to personal reasons, I couldn't be there myself. But here we are, and here I am, finally ready and good to go. Let's have a little look at the standings here. As you can see, Brainstew is still somewhat comfortably leading the driver's standings with 136 points, almost 40 points clear of Luke Smith, aka Vexit, in second place. He, however, did come in P2 as Brainstew came in P3 a last time round in Singapore, slightly closing the gap. Of course, there's still a bit to play for here with this race and 4 other races remaining in this season for Tier 1. However, the pressure is on Luke to close the gap big time. Now the time is slowly starting to run out. A few changes in the driver lineup in Tier 1 from what I've gathered. We have a new driver in AlphaTauri. That is in the name of Luka Milnak. I hope I pronounced one of those two right. Replacing Chen for the remainder of the season. And another change has happened in Ferrari, where Berkan has replaced Milan for the remainder of the season as well. So 2 new drivers there out on track tonight. As far as I saw, Luka at least already drove for one of the teams as a reserve driver and is now definitely in 50 points after he won last race. So, well, not too bad, I guess. Let's see what happened tonight. An entirely different circuit, of course, Francis. As opposed to the street circuit in Singapore, we now have this track here with massive runoff areas and plenty of room to make those mistakes should they happen. It isn't as punishing, it's much more forgiving. And let's see what the drivers will do around here. Of course, the weather will also be an interesting factor, and the tire strategy is always an interesting one to think about. Well, last time I saw this race and commentated live on it in Tier 4, we saw the soft to medium strategy. A bit of a risky one, but if you can manage to pull it off, your tires might be extremely worn, close to popping, but it will be somewhat faster than the soft to hard strategy. However, it is only for those drivers daring to do so. And the lobby is slowly starting to ready up. Let's have a little look actually at the calendar before we go live to the track. Here we are then. France is now round 11 here. 4 more rounds to go. After this one, Spain, Austria, Mexico and Brazil are coming up soon. And the season is drawing to a close within a month from now, in fact. So it's getting exciting. It's getting tight. And the pressure is on for the championship leaders. Haas, of course, still leading those constructors championship by just over 35 points. In fact, Alfa Romeo, mostly due to Brainstew's massive haul of points, comfortably in second place, followed by McLaren in third. And let's see what Alpine can do tonight. Currently sitting only last in only 12 points in. We're waiting for the players to ready up, select their tires. Of course, that isn't too difficult in this game anymore. And then we shall be ready to roll. Let's see what these drivers can do. Just had a little look in the lobby. 17 drivers in. We'll be missing 3 tonight, unfortunately. So, well, more chances, perhaps, for those who wish to score some points. Berkan looking for his first points in this tier. Now that he is in Ferrari, the team needs the points as well. They're only sitting 9th in the championship. So, oh dear, look at this. Already the weather is playing a big role here. In fact, it's raining during qualifying, so it'll be a wet qualifying. Now, if any of the drivers is watching Tier 1 here, the live stream, please let me know what the weather will do for the rest of the race. And it will be interesting to see whether the rain continues throughout the race, or if it's going to be dry. Let's enable all sorts of interesting details here. Of course, everybody's going to start on the intermediate, so the track isn't exceptionally wet tonight, but it is wet enough to not go out on any sort of dry tires. Of course, this completely eliminates the starting tire that is required for the top 10, the forced starting tire. So if you start within the top 10 and you've qualified in the soft tire, you have to start on that one, and that no longer counts here. So it's all to play for. A free tire strategy. We can already see one of the Ferraris leaving the garage, followed by the other Ferrari. Both of them already going out. Joshua and Burkhan both going for it early on. The track still being very wet. Still a bit of a dry line needs to be made. Burkhan, the first car out on track. I'm quite sure that most drivers will go with a bit more fuel in their tanks than they would normally have during qualifying, as driving several laps to set a fastest time possible is quite common, in fact, as the first bollard is already out of the way. Thanks to Burkhan there on his outlap on the back straight in the second sector. Let's see what these drivers can do. No DRS, of course, during the rain. Much too dangerous. You might easily lose the car. Let's see what these drivers can do. I was hoping to compare the times a little bit to Tier 4, where the fastest time was about a 28.8-ish. That will not be the case, of course, due to the track being wet. Most drivers are now already out on track. Loads of them have just erupted from the pit lane, while the Aston Martin Yari following the Ferraris as the third car on the track. Third driver then to set a time, of course, if they do not invalidate it. We have a bit of a spin, possibly. Yes, I think Mark, aka Harlem Marquis, might have spun here on the backstart. We can't see the camera. Let's have a little look here. Yeah, he's quite a way off the track. Not a great start. That might put him on edge there. Let's hope it doesn't. And we have a retirement already as the Mercedes of Eruption has crashed. Let's see if the other... Yeah, there he is, in the wall. One car out before they even started their hot lap. Their teammate, best mate, driving past them right there. Eruption then forced to start from the back. That is, of course, unless everybody behind him in the standings currently will crash, which is extremely unlikely anyway. Let's go back to the lead car of Burkhan. Lead car as in the first, who will set a lap time if he doesn't invalidate. Of course, that's a purple first sector, 24.8. His teammate then across these first sector. That's unfortunate, we can't see his time there. Maybe we can see this man's time, unfortunately not. But he's already invalidated his lap, so a tough luck for him there. Gonna have to have another go. Fortunately, that is quite easily possible on these tires, as they barely wear in these conditions anyway. Let's see what these drivers can do as they approach the end of the second sector. Yeah, that's actually quite an achievement, isn't it? Hit a wall in France, and Eruption has done so. Oh, and Burkhan has invalidated his lap. So that's his first attempt out. Let's switch to his teammate then. He's coming around the same right-hander there, turn 11 as well. Approaching his teammate rapidly, who's now going out of his way to make sure at least Joshua can set a lap time here. Let's see what he can do, what the benchmark will be for the others to beat here. The first Ferrari, first car to cross the line in about 2 corners time. Round the final corner he comes then, onto the main straight. Let's see what Joshua can set as a lap time. The benchmark for the wet French qualifying is going to be a 1 minute 39.8 for the time being. Let's see if Yari can actually go a bit faster than that. No, he's gonna have to restart the lap, of course, due to the invalidation. And Verdax then going quite a lot faster, in fact, half a second. At 39.317 is pretty quick there. And Brownie then setting a 40.3 on the board. And Jakach then squeezing in between Joshua and Verdax in second place for now, with a 39.3 as well. Just 5/100ths slower than the Williams, currently in provisional pole position. Here he is then, Luke Smith. One of those trying to go for the driver's title. Slowing down quite a lot there. Not entirely sure why. There's plenty of space ahead of him. Probably to let the McLaren pass there. And now trying to create some more space. He's going to have to go again because his lap was invalidated. So another try for him then. In the meanwhile, let's have a little look at the championship leader, Brain Stew, currently over here at the end of the second sector. A 24.8 in the first sector there. Pretty much as fast as Vertex was, but now... I hope I pronounce this correctly. Avi. I'm just going to go with a slightly Dutch pronunciation as I'm Dutch myself. Avi currently going fastest overall with a 38.9. Now the lap times are tumbling quite rapidly already, and Joshua having a collision with his teammate for some reason. How did that even happen? They were quite far apart on the minimap as far as I could see. But the Ferrari, yeah, you can just see him in the view of Brainstew. Now, let's see. Oh, he barely makes it out of the way from Brainstew's hot lap attempt. He's going to have to wait for the McLaren as well. That will cool down his tires. Not a great start to the hot lap of that Ferrari in particular. Let's see what Brainstew can do. He slots in a P3 for the time being at 39.185. Just ahead of his teammate there. But Avi setting a pretty epic time there. 13.8937. Already more than... well... quite more than 1 second faster than Brownie, currently sitting in last place. 4 drivers then, having set a lap time here. Mark, who spun on his out lap in his first try. Vexit, aka Luke Smith in the Haas. Still giving it all. Let's see where he is. In fact, there he is. Just past turn 11 into turn 12. He comes down. Let's see what he can do. Of course, his main goal will be to score as many points and hoping that Brainstew will score as little. We all know that Brainstew is very, very strong, very consistent driver. So it's going to be hard to beat with the Italian in the Alfa Romeo. A full wet quali, thank you very much for the information. And a dry to wet race. Oh man, it's going to be interesting. There we have it then. Vexit slotting into second place. Just about a 10th behind the current professional pole sitter. But crucially, 2 places ahead of Brainstew. But then again, there's still 10 minutes remaining in this qualifying session, so there's still all to play for. Most drivers now have set a lap time. Magnetar here, currently sitting 9th with a 39.4. And Brainstew, I think, is going to come across the line again. Currently improving by 1/10 of a second after the second sector, but the third sector is where he lost a bit of time, so he's still sitting in P4 then for now. Let's see what he will do. Either he's going to try again or just come in and refuel the car, maybe use a new set of tires. A bit of a yellow flag in the first sector for some cars moving out of the way of the others. Let's see then, Pro to go. Not having set a lap time, currently sitting in last place behind the one and only man that has crashed currently. I'm quite sure he will have a lap time set soon. On an out lap at the moment, a fresh set of intermediate tires. Pretty much ready to go. So then, of course, please do let me know, by the way, who you think will grab pole position. Will it be Avi or will it be anyone else just behind him? As the top 5, in fact, are more or less about 3/10 apart. Top 6, actually, I can safely say 3/10 apart. And there we have it then. Vexit, actually on quite a bit faster than Avi, with a 38.7. So that's about 2/10 of an improvement. And now the limit for Brainstew here. That's not Brainstew. There we have Brainstew. Has been set. Has he now been pushed down to 5th place? Magnetar making a massive improvement from 9th to 3rd with a 39.0 right now. So that's a pretty big jump up there. Brainstew coming into the pit lane. Going for a fresh set of tires and a fresh gulp of fuel for his car. And then he'll most likely try again. There's still 8 minutes remaining, so still plenty of time. Let's see what he can do. Let's have a little look at somebody who's currently attempting a fastest lap. Dimitriou, having invalidated his lap. Definitely not on an attempt here right now as he heads into the pit lane. Brainstew's teammate just behind him there in 9th position. 39.3 at the moment, but he's going to go have a go here on the main straight. He comes. Alpine there just behind him of Mark. Only 12th fastest at the moment. Quite sure he would like to improve. As the man who hasn't scored any points just yet, Berkan Kilic, is sitting in the pit lane waiting for another go. Let's switch back actually to the Alpine of Mark, just behind Jack Hutch. First sector then, 24.8. Now that's a pretty consistent sector there. Many drivers sitting at 24.8, all within the 100ths of a second of one another. So pretty tight there. As he might just be having a bit of an advantage here in a slight slipstream from the Alfa Romeo of Jack Hutch ahead. Let's see what that does for his second sector. There he comes, and that will be an improvement of 2/10 already. So right now, currently, is well on the way and placing at least in top 10. And if he keeps going like this, I think it might even be a potential top 6, maybe even top 5 for the time being. Let's see if actually he can make that happen. There's only 14% of battery left, however, so that's not a lot. He's still got quite a ways to go in the final sector. It's going to be tight on his battery there. As soon as it hits below 10%, the output will be less than optimal. And there's still a long way to go on the main straight to the finish line. So let's see what he'll do here. I see a Haas going quite off track on the minimap. Probably to move out of the way. Here comes then. Across the line, a 39.0. There you have it. A top 5, as I predicted there. Overtaking both Alfa Romeos, as Jack Hutch has now out-qualified his teammate. Brainstew then on the back foot at the moment. He's sitting right behind the Haas, in fact, of his main rival there. Vexit doesn't want to be in front of him there. So he's just moving out of the way of Brainstew to go on his own way. It's the Alpine of Mark moving out of the way there. Not knowing that these two are just on an outlap at the moment. There they are, they're the main rivals right behind one another on the track. Welcome to the stream, by the way, there. How are you doing? So yeah, spicy race coming up. Well set, by the way, Tyler. Dry to wet is always interesting, especially considering you never really know when it will start to rain. The predictions, I'm quite sure, are approximate and not precise, which always keeps the element of surprise in a race. It might rain late. Maybe it won't rain at all. Fact is, though, that I, as a commentator, cannot see what the weather will do. I really hope they will add that as a feature in the next game. It makes commentating just that much easier. So then, the main rivals are now coming almost around the final corner. The Alpine of Mark is heading out of the way. Now they are literally right behind each other. Let's see what they will do. Brainstew and Vexit then fighting for pole position. Brainstew is now going to start his lap. Across the line he comes, and it's now going. He's going to have to improve by, well, over 0.4 of a second, in fact, to go back to the front row at least. We have Luca joining in late, but he's here. Glad to have him there. Let's see what the first sector of Brainstew is. It's a 24.7, actually. That's pretty fast. 1.5 faster than his previous lap time. So currently, if that would be a lap time right now, he would at least enter the top 4. It's going to be exciting as we have a Red Bull who is actually spinning as we speak. There he is, Dimitriou. There has spun his Red Bull. Not entirely sure why. Maybe he wanted to move out of the way. He did that a little enthusiastically. And now he's having a bit of a problem there, trying to move out of the way. The AlphaTauri passing by there of Avi, who is currently on an outlap. Regardless, it's better to move out of the way anyway. Let's see how it's going here. Vexit there. And Brainstew here. We're going to have to watch this man first, of course. He's going to be the first of the two rivals to cross the line. These two men about 40 points apart in the Drivers' Championship, so it's pretty exciting still. And I'm quite sure that Brainstew really doesn't want to be out-qualified by his teammate, at least. Sitting P7 at the moment. Round the final corner he comes. Now he's going to have to sprint like a maniac to the finish line, and he does so. He's on fire. Across the line he comes. I think it's going to be a 38. It is a 38.7, just barely managing pole position, out qualifying Vexit. But he is as well round the final corner. Apparently, yeah, he's going to try again. That's a 43.5. So it's definitely going to be another attempt. Battery fully recharged, and Vexit's going to have another go. Let's sit with the man in P2 in the driver standings here within his car and see what he can do. As Verdex goes even faster with a 38.5. I think the track's definitely improving now. So if anybody wants to set a quick time, now's the time to do so. And I'm quite positive that Brainsteel as well is good to have another go. Purple sector there for Vexit already in the first one. So he's on fire now, and Verdex has retired from the session on track. I'm entirely sure what happened there. He didn't crash. He's going in the first sector there. Yellow flag there for his car. His AI hopefully won't cause any troubles there. Plus I'm not entirely sure whether or not it's allowed to retire on track without any reason. Either way, here he comes then. Second sector for Vexit. 2/10 faster at the moment. He is currently faster than Brainstew. But this guy, Brainstew, is right ahead of him over there. You can see the Alfa Romeo hovering into view over there. Let's see if things might get nasty or not. The two championship rivals. Vexit getting ever closer here. Is Brainstew going to be moving out of his way? I'm not trying to cause any drama here, by the way. He moves out of the way. Yes, he does. But just in time. Just barely. Round the final corner he comes. Onto the main straight. While the Alfa Romeo is currently getting cheered on. And Yari has crashed out on the back straight. I can see that on the minimap. Let's see here what he does. Even faster. Look at that. Half a second nearly clear from Brainstew. So now the pressure is back on Brainstew then to try and go, well, half a second faster in fact. And that will elevate him to pole position. Now Verdex still on the front row despite having retired on track. He will no longer be able to improve then. Let's see what Brainstew can do. He's going to have to push really hard. But half a second, that is a mountain to climb for the Alfa Romeo driver here. Let's see what he does then. He's a 10th down on the first sector already. Now he's going to have to make a mighty second and third sector then in order to improve this much time. And let's see if he can actually do that as best mate. Now slots into 4th place, just behind Brainstew in fact. The qualifying is now over. Pro2Go finished in P7, so that's going to be a relief for him then. Jack Hutch finishing in P9. The teammate of Brainstew is gonna have a hard time to back up his teammate there. I think it's gonna be no good for Brainstew to improve, but still 3rd place isn't too bad to start from. He might just have a nice slipstream in the first corner, as the race will be starting on dry tires and turn into wet anywhere later on in the race. Here he comes then. Will he have found half a second somewhere in the 3rd and final sector? He's gonna keep going. He doesn't go into the pit lane, so that means he's going to improve. Both Ferraris coming across the line, and Burken improving to P7. Joshua only improving to 14th place. Not fast enough, and across the line he comes. It's not good enough. Brainstew then stuck in 3rd place behind Vexit and Verdex on the 2nd row of the grid. The championship rivals only separated by 2 positions here. So there we have it then. Unless Magnetar can do something about it, which he can't because he's invalidated his lap. Avi then coming around the final corner. He's been a provisional pole for a while, but he'll have to improve by a lot of time here. 0.6 of a second. Can he do so? He actually out-qualifies Brainsteel. That moves him down to 4th place then. The Alpha Tauri of Avi doing a fantastic job. Into 3rd place he goes then. I don't think Lars is present tonight, Vapes, as there's only 18 drivers on the grid currently. Luca joining late. He wasn't able to set a lap time, so Eruption and Luca without a lap time, starting from the back of the grid. Verdex retiring, now sitting in 2nd place, so a great job by him, but Vexit having that pole position. The top 10 being completed by Avi, Brainstew, Best Mate, Brownie in 6th place, Magnetar in P7 then, Burkhan, well done in P8, Pro2Go in 9th place, and Mark in P10. The rest of the grid will be looking like this. Joshua with a 5th place grid penalty. will actually be starting from the back, behind Eruption even, despite both of the cars not setting a lap time. Now then, an epic qualifying there between the championship rivals, one of them starting on pole position, the other only in 4th place. Braintree will probably not be too happy with his qualifying performance tonight. But then, of course, there's still a lot, 27 laps in fact to go. A few of them at least will be dry, a few of them will be wet. And when the rain will hit, I unfortunately cannot tell you, as we wait for the drivers to get ready and select their tire strategies. Of course, that's going to be the most interesting part of this race. What will they do? It really depends on when the rain will fall. I wouldn't be surprised if the rain does fall late, they might just go ahead and start on the hard tires, hoping to go for a one-stop, or just maybe take the risk and maybe go for the mediums. Let's see what they will do, and let's see when the rain is going to fall. Either way, it's going to be exciting. Definitely looking forward to what will happen here tonight on the track. And of course, what can Eruption and Luca do from the back of the grid? We just saw Luca leaving the session, so I hope he'll be back in time to at least pull something up. There they are then, getting ready for the warm-up lap, the formation lap. In the exact formation as they have qualified. Some people like to call this a parade lap. And we can already see several drivers, as predicted, starting on the hard tires. Quite a lot of them, in fact. And the most interesting thing here already to note is that the pole sitter is starting on the medium tires. A lot of the cars behind him starting on the hards. And then there's 7 other drivers in P10 and lower starting on the mediums as well. So a nice mix of strategies here. And all of them probably will depend on when the rain will fall. Some of them are considering the rain to fall late, and that would be all the drivers in the hard tires. Some of them hoping it will be earlier rather than later, sooner rather than later. Let's see. Let's see what will happen. Fact is, though, that all these drivers starting on the medium tires will have the pace advantage, as the hard tires usually aren't the greatest tire to race with. Mostly are being selected either because the strategy gives no other option, or in situations like this, why they might just hope for a late rainy shower. Vexit then leading the way quite comfortably, in fact, on the on the formation lap. He's in a hurry, trying to get as much heat into his tires as he can. Vertex and Avi are a bit close, but Brainstew and the rest of the pack are quite far behind. And as the first driver is now making his way to his grid slot at the front, nearest to the start line. Predictions for the winner, of course. I'd love to know, in fact, which driver you would like to see or would think is going to be the winner of this race. I'm quite sure it's all to play for. The qualifying was pretty tight, with the exception of the mighty lap of Vexit. 3/10s clear of the rest of the field. And now the grid has formed up, getting ready to go. Here we are then. The lights are coming on. Oh dear, that's the standings gone. There we have it. That's what we want to see from the front. 5 red lights, and it's off they go. Then a great start there from Vexit. An even better start there from Avi, and Brainstew not bad away from his grid slot either. But it looks like the top 4 might just stay the same. Onto the first corner they come. Let's see there. His teammate, Vexit's teammate, already moving up into 11th place. Moon there having quite the start. Several changes there onto the grid. Magnetar into 6th place. Brownie into P7 at the moment. Side by side with the Alpine of Mark. Look at the start Mark, in fact, has made. From P10 already into 7th place. The medium tires doing him a lot of favors there. No big drama then through the first sector, as everybody managed to keep their car on track. In fact, only Eruption then getting out of the way there. A little spin from him, losing the car, but his medium tires might hopefully elevate him back to the rest of the grid. Several overtakes happening here. Many cars going side by side. A battle here between Jack Hatch and Candy King for 13th place. Candy King keeping his car ahead for the time being. But a great exit from Jack Hatch, in fact, elevating him back into 13th place. Right now we can see all the drivers on the medium tires having the best advantage possible. Jari in 10th place. Let's see, in fact, how much positions have been changed here. And look at Mark. This man is absolutely flown off the line. 4 places made up since the start. Jari as well into 10th place already. The medium tires then doing its powerful work, and the most work it's actually doing is under the car of Vexit here. His medium tires already managed to give him the advantage of 1.9 seconds clear from P2 at the end of the first lap. It's absolutely insane. Brainshoot having a little look there at Bestmate, trying to go for P4, but for now he's going to have to stick behind the Mercedes. For now, losing 1 place at the start, not the best situation for him. And he's losing sight of his rival, who is already more than 3 seconds clear of the Alfa Romeo. No good news for him then, as the field slowly is starting to settle down. Luca already, I think, back in his car. I hope for him at least. And I just put on a race here, although he's falling quite far back. We see a battle here for 10th and 9th place. Jari moving ahead of Burkhan. Burkhan already losing 2 positions then, trying to have a little go back at Jari, but Jari's medium tires doing all the work for him there. So far it looks like advantage medium tires. Burkhan then having to defend again, this time from the other Haas driver who started on the medium tires as well. Noon having a little go for the final points position there into the massive right-hander. A daring move, as I said during the start of the stream, and he managed to do it. So quite an impressive move there from Moon, who is now into 10th place, chasing down Jari then for 9th. However, both of these cars are on the medium tires, and I'm quite sure both of them are going to cut through the field like hot butter or something like that. At least Mark is trying to close the gap to Brainstew, so Brainstew not only has to get quickly ahead of Bestmate, he's also going to get some pressure from behind, as the Alpine has closed the gap already. So trouble for the championship leader, stuck in P5. DRS is now enabled. We'll get a massive DRS train all the way from P2 down to P16. It's going to be absolutely huge. Exits are going to be absolutely perfect if people wish to retain their position. Only through that way, and they can ensure their position remains safe. Look at this massive DRS train. Let's see who's gonna go for an overtake. We actually see Jari then trying to have a go on Brownie for 8th place, but due to all the DRS ahead of him, he's not able to do so. All the slipstream working their wonders for the drivers on the hard tires. A bit of a relief for them though, as I can see most of them struggling for grip at the opening phase of the race. And all these corners are where the drivers in the medium tires will have to gain their advantage now, as the DRS train is now active. Look at him! Look at Jari just pushing the Brownie's car through the corners. He's like, just move out of the way, man, I'm so much faster here. The weather forecast, T-Mac, is dry to wet. However, I do not know when it's going to be wet, as we see Bestmate. Oh dear. Bestmate having a massive accident. Spin at least. Doesn't look like any car damage there as he continues, but from P4 fallen down to 17th place. That means that Brainshoe is now elevated into 4th. So bad luck there for Bestmate. Bestmate, bad luck. That's all we can say for today. So then Brainshoe is now hounding Avi and Verdex. His hard tires are starting to come to life. And Mark is starting to struggle keeping up with him, as Brainshoe is now starting to get into his rhythm. Back onto the back straight then. Let's see what other overtakes are going to happen. Jari and Moon, especially Jari, once again incredibly close behind Brownie's McLaren there. He's having a look, but he knows it's no good just yet. The DRS train is just too big to be true. The only one who's in real danger. Oh, look at that. A big, nice exit there. Nearly put Yari into P7. He's just having a look every single time, and he's getting the purple sector there in Sector 2. Which means the medium tires are incredibly fast at the moment, and the DRS, of course, definitely helping as well. But he is still stuck. He's still stuck. The DRS train is not helping the medium tire users anymore. Yeah, that's the interesting thing, Fubar. Vexit is currently building the gap, and depending on when the rain comes, the hard tire will soon come into play. And we see a spin. Oh dear, it's Yari, who is on such a roll, has lost his car into the final sector before the final corner happened, and he is now on the back foot as well. So he'll be out of contention for points for the time being. Of course, a safety car might just save his race. That, however, puts Moon into 7th place, moving ahead of Brownie. And now he's going to give chase to the other McLaren of Magnetar. Such a shame we're missing all of the actions happening. It's going so fast, and it's all happening so unexpectedly. Yeah, several drivers getting out of battery. All pushing really hard to get that overtake done. Moon, however, still got plenty of battery left, trying to close the gap. It's quite a big one to Magnetar. A big, relatively speaking, of course. And Brainstew ahead of Avi now in 3rd place. Now the man is going to move. He's going to have a go. Nobody is in soft tires, T-Mac. Which would be, frankly, that would have been an interesting strategy. Starting on softs, knowing that the rain will come later in the race. This is the fight for 2nd place. It's now definitely on. Brainstew has found his rhythm, and that is when he's most dangerous. Let's have a little look at the tires again. We've seen plenty of position changes here now. The leader of the race, as I said, on the medium tires. Mark and Moon, the other 2 drivers, along with Joshua on the medium tires in the top 10 as well. Kennykin, Eruption, Yari and Luca on the mediums as well. The rest of the grid is on the hard tires. So, as I said, a mixed strategy. And Brainstew having a little bit of a look there at Vertex, trying to go for 2nd place. Letting Vertex know that his attack will come. His attack is imminent. I'm really wondering what will happen when the rain comes in later than expected for the medium tire users. That is when things are going to turn around. Onto the back straight they go then. This is the moment where Brainstew has been waiting for. But Avi, however, being very close to him as well. DRS is now on. Is he going to have a try? These are very close together. Here he goes then, side by side. Brainstew looking side by side. Yari, Avi in fact having a look well there. But Brainstew safely moving in 2nd place. And now the chase between the 2 championship rivals is on. The man in the lead in the driver's standings is now chasing the man in the lead of the race. It's going to be mighty. Will he be able to close the gap? Not for the time being though, as the medium tires are still faster. 4.4 seconds between Brainstew and Vexit. We are now starting to see several groups forming. Brainstew's group all the way to Moon. And then we have the group of Brownie and Burkan. Followed by the group led by Joshua. The man who is currently in P10, and there they are then. We already can see the sky turning pretty dark all of a sudden. I think some idiots, the rain might even hit a bit earlier. It's getting really dark all of a sudden. It's good lord, it's like the clouds are in a hurry. The clouds are here. And they are here in... Oh no! Brainstew's lost the car! Oh god! It couldn't get any worse for the Drivers' Championship leader. He moves out of the top 10. He just turned right, lost control. And that's the points gone, and a great moment there for Vexit. He can't believe his luck, I think. Seeing Brainstew falling away out of the standings on his screen, I'm quite sure. And off he goes. Brainstew falling down to P14 as Moon. This is great news for Haas as well, by the way. Several drivers here tussling for position as Avi now moves into 2nd place. Moon into 5th place. Haas is really up for the game right now, leading the constructors healthily at the moment. And potentially going to lead it even better now. As the only other team well within the points is McLaren. Of course, Ferrari double points as well, but they are in 8th and 9th. But Brainstew... Did he crack under pressure? Was that the pressure for the championship that nicked him? 5 minutes to rain. All right, yeah, that's it's looking very likely. Those 5 minutes to rain. But man, this race already turned upside down pretty quickly. I think currently the men on the medium tires have made the wisest choice. If the rain does hit in 5 minutes, then the medium tires have been working perfectly. Had the rain fallen even sooner, then the soft tires might have even come into play. But I think everybody here on the track knew that that wouldn't happen at all. Now then, Alfa Romeo's brain stew is going to have an almighty job to get back up into the points. 14th place, stuck behind Eruption right now. Not a great day for him. Not in the slightest. Now let's see then who's going to overtake who. I think the overtake here might just happen. Burkhan having a look at Brownie then. He's having a mighty exit there on the back straight. And I think it's going to be an easy pass around the outside, in fact. Not as easy as it looks. Yeah, there he is then. Slotting behind the Ferrari there. Brownie now falling into P8. And we have a spin! We saw that happen just outside of the corner of our eyes. Joshua getting us. Oh my goodness, it's several cars in fact who spun around. It's absolute catastrophe for many cars then. Oh man, it's Eruption, Best Mate, Jekaj and Joshua involved in a massive... what happened there? It went so incredibly quickly. Joshua spinning out. I think that caused several other drivers to be having a big scare for their life. Dearie me. I don't see any rain, fuel bar. So these spins that are happening are purely because of driver error. And I think Joshua's contact there, as I do say that in fact, contact most likely what has been made. As Yari is moving ahead of Eruption only because he heads into the pit lane. It's probably damage for his car then. Couldn't go any worse for the Aston Martin driver. The only Aston Martin driver, in fact, out on track tonight. So not a great day for Aston Martin today. Tire temperatures, yeah, they might be dropping. That's a good point there you make, Waffle. That might be the cause of all these spins suddenly happening. But then again, man, even a champion like Brainshoe losing his car like that. We see Moon. Look at this. We might see a double Haas podium tonight. Moon heading into 4th place now ahead of Mark. This man is on fire. He might even go and make it a Haas 1-2 if things keep going. Like he manages to pull them off. And Verdex still trying and hanging on to 2nd place. This race is going everywhere tonight. So much things are happening. Verdex mostly into 2nd place due to Brainshoe spinning out. I think I do have DLSS enabled. Might have a little look at that later on. Oh, look at this train then. Oh, Avi is quite feisty there. He really wants to go into 2nd place, but the main straight on the start-finish line is a really great place to overtake. Let's be honest. Oh, like Moon. Moon is on fire. Usually the sun is on fire, but tonight Moon is on fire. Yeah, I might have to disable DLSS, as it's been causing some weird things to happen to me as well. I prefer the highest possible quality, and so far I've been comfortably able to stream in 1080p 60 frames per second. But if it's a bother to anybody, I would be happy to disable DLSS. Not during this race, of course, because there's too many things happening, and I don't want to miss a 1/10 of a second of this race, as Avi is now going to have a go there for 2nd place. Verdex moving all the way to the outside, defending quite well, in fact, to get the best entry into the corner possible. And there he goes, still in 2nd place, and Moon still stuck behind both of them in 4th, but he's so close to the AlphaTauri there. And using all of the ERS, but so far, Avi is just having a bit of a laugh. He's got twice as much battery, but look at that, a bit of a backside. They're side by side. Moon goes into the right-hander of turn 11 in the slightly grippier tires there, as they are 9 laps old now. Oh dear, and he manages to do it. He manages to go ahead into 3rd place, and he's going to give chase to the 2nd place now. That's 2 Haases on the podium. An incredible move there from Moon. Glad we caught that one on camera. Move of the race so far. Well done. Burkan, by the way, in a McLaren sandwich, somewhat, as the other McLaren is 2.5 seconds up the road from him. 7th place for him for now. But yeah, it's looking good. Looking very good for Haas tonight. Brainshoe, in the meanwhile, back into 11th place, mostly due to the carnage that happened between Joshua, Jakac and Jari. As Eruption is the second driver now to get a 3-second time penalty due to track limits. And I think, if my eyes are still working correctly, I see rain. The rain has started to fall. Verdex then, now under pressure from Moon. And ladies and gentlemen, might I present to you the Haas 1-2 that has happened right now as Jari, already having a disastrous afternoon, having it even worse now on the main straight, spun out now comfortably in last place. Well, not really comfortably. And there we are then. A Haas 1-2. Who would have thought that? Verdex though is not giving up just yet. I think the hard tires are now slowly starting to get to life, but a bit too late as the rain is now dropping. And dropping for real. So now it's going to be interesting who will have the best control of their car. Who can stay on track? Who is going to be the earlier man to come into the pit lane, switch to the inters? How hard does it rain in fact? Several drivers in fact already heading into the pit lane. Does this mean that the rain is coming down this hard that it is already viable to go to the intermediate tires? Many drivers are thinking that in fact. Already the track considered to be very wet, and there we are then, the inters. Not even one lap of rain and they are going for it. Loads of them going for it. Brainshoe included, Mark is in, Magnetar, Verdex. And the race leader, yeah, the track is very wet. Look at that. I think the guy staying out might have made a mistake. Let's see, from the perspective, yeah, DRS already disabled. The track is definitely too wet for dry tires now. And, whoa, he's missing the corner massively there. Yep. Vexit might just have thrown his lead away. Oh, he's gonna have to be careful keeping that car on track. Everybody's struggling now. Burkan, due to the struggle of Brownie, getting ahead into 3rd place, but that is only temporarily. Everybody on the inters is gaining time a lot now on the top 5 who are still out. We have a spin. It's actually Burkan who's lost the car, lost a part of his front wing. Disaster now. And Jari retiring from the session. He's got enough of today. A disaster there, ending in retirement for the only Aston Martin on track. Burkan then now having to pit for a new front wing as well. Big mistake there for these 5 drivers to stay out. It was a risk, it was a gamble, and the gamble hasn't worked out at all. Now let's see if Vexit can still emerge out into the lead. He was about 5.5 seconds clear, I think, of his teammate in 2nd place. But will he still be? Burkan losing the car again. He's getting overtaken by all the intermediate tire users. The hard tires have completely died due to the low temperatures. Absolute disaster there for Burkan in his first race for Ferrari. Vexit in the meanwhile exiting pit lane. Let's see if Moon will cross him. Pass him in fact. No, in fact, Vexit managed to keep the lead, but it has shrunk down to only 1.5 seconds-ish. Still though, a Haas 1-2 as the final drivers are now pitting for an actual set of intermediate tires. Vexit then retaining the lead. But most interesting of all, Brainshoe is back into 6th place. After spinning out earlier on in the race when it was still dry, he's now trying to scramble back a bit of points. The Haas 1-2 though is not officially safe just yet, as Verdax in the Williams is trying to have a go at both of them. And Moon is somewhat being able to keep up with his teammate, so Vexit's victory is all but certain at the moment, as the field has now spread out massively thanks to the rain. The only ones being close together being Moon and Verdex, and Brainshoe and Avi in P6 and 7. So let's see, will the rain get any worse? Will the full wet tires be required tonight? Or will these intermediate tires be enough to finish the race? In fact, Will these be the only set of tires they're going to use for the remainder of the race? 14 laps on inters on this track. Might be stretching it a little bit, as Birkin is having another spin. Oh, dearie me. Another one. Is he going to have an absolutely disastrous night? Rain just basically is waiting for an accident to happen. And right now these accidents are accumulating themselves in spins and penalties, by the way, as Moon is getting a 3-second penalty, which is far from ideal for him. Verdex therefore is now theoretically second place. So he's going to have to drive like crazy to get a 3-second gap to the Williams. He's going to have to be absolutely sure he keeps up with his teammate. As for his teammate, then it makes his life a little bit easier knowing that his teammate, if he overtakes him, will have to create that 3-second gap. Birkin getting another penalty there in the pit lane, and there we are then. Retirement for the new Ferrari driver, allowing Luca and Jekac to move up a position, although I'm quite sure that Luca's car is currently controlled by an AI, as his pace is absolutely nowhere, and quite sure that isn't Luca's pace at all, considering he won Singapore last 2 weeks ago. So then, things are starting to settle down. No helmet for Luca. Absolutely going to have a look at that. Look at this man, braving the rain without a helmet. There's bravery and there's interesting facts. And here we have an interesting fact. Look at that, braving the rain. No helmet on. The raindrops absolutely splattering his eye to pieces. He'll have no more eyes at the end of the race. He will have plenty of drink though. So unlike a certain Finnish driver in an Alfa Romeo, he will not be able to complain about the drink. More than Checo as well, yes. Good point. Moon slowly losing out to his teammate. The gap increasing by about a 1/10 per lap. And Verdex in turn losing out to Moon as well. He needs to stay within those 3 seconds if he wishes to go into the second place. Either way, the top 3 is going to be very interesting, and Brainstew is in fact starting to close the gap to Magnetar in P5. He's trying to gain back as much points as he can after his disastrous spin, but Avi is still lurking behind him, trying to get that overtake done. It's quite a challenge now that DRS has been disabled. Your exit needs to be pitch perfect if you want to get an overtake done on this track without any DRS. It's going to be tough for him. But either way, he is sticking with Brainstew for the time being and putting him under pressure. And pressure, this man, he's got plenty of it anyway. Especially tonight. If this remains as it is, Vexit will close the gap by another 13 or so points. Let's see who in fact has the fastest lap at the moment. I'm not entirely sure. There we are then. Yeah, Vexit getting another point from the fastest lap. If it keeps going like this, and I'm afraid it will not get dry anymore. So that fastest lap point is definitely in the bag for him. So potentially 26 points as opposed to the 8 points to Brainstew, which means an 18 point closing of the gap. Let's have a little look at the front. How are things going there? Verdex is now back within the so-called DRS range, despite there being no more DRS, of course. But within a second, more or less, trying to keep up and trying to make sure he will get that second place should the race finish as it is. But, you know, this is France, and we've already seen plenty of drama with cars spinning everywhere, left, right, up, down, center. Inside out, wherever you want to go, it's happened. Another fight here, potentially starting to happen. Eruption, starting from the back of the grid, hasn't made up particularly many places. Not having a great start of the race either. Is now closed the gap to Joshua, who spun out and potentially took multiple cars with him. And Avi, of course, still keeping on the pressure on Brainstew. Any small mistake from the Alfa Romeo driver will allow this AlphaTauri to get past And Jack Kash then moving ahead of the AI of Luca. I'm 100% confirming now that that is the AI, in fact. I haven't seen Luca returning to the session at all. So, well, a decent day, I think, for AlphaTauri, we can say. With one car, potentially scoring 6 points. But then again, we're just barely past the halfway point. And everything can still happen. Vexit then starting to pull ahead of Moon, already 2.6 seconds, ever so increasing that lead as he desires. Comfortably leading the race, knowing that BrainStew is nowhere near the top 5 just yet. However, that gap is ever getting smaller and smaller between BrainStew and Magnetar. We might have another fight up on our hands soon for P5 with Magnetar, BrainStew and Avi having a go for that position. Neither of those three having any penalties. So there's still everything to play for. Going quite wide there. But looking like a good exit. Javi having a bit of a better exit there, I think. But he's still too far away. Managing ERS, and those exits are everything when it's raining. And that is when you can shine or when you will fall. And this man is giving it everything to get past that Alfa Romeo. He knows great points are in the bag, since his teammate isn't there. He needs those points for his team anyway. Other than that, there's a lot happening on track right now. Vertex is trying to stay with Moon, as I said earlier, and the gap is now at 1.1 seconds. So he's doing quite well, in fact. And the race leader just keeps increasing that lead slowly but surely, as we are now heading into the 18th lap of 27. And the fuel has pretty much calmed down. We have a yellow flag though. It's Jakach, another driver whose day couldn't get any worse, has spun round. Alfa Romeo then not having the greatest day tonight here in France. Branch to spin, Jakach accidents happening. In fact, he has actually lost a bit of front wing there. So I wouldn't be entirely surprised if he decides to retire from the race here, as he massively misses the corner there. And he's gonna have to go back to the pit lane. Let's see what he does. Either retire or just not give up. But look at this guy. He's really close eruption there, trying to get into 13th place. And potentially even higher if he does have the pace. However, it's about 7.5 seconds up to P12. Who in turn is already 2.2 seconds behind P11. And that is actually Best Mate, who's trying to get past Brownie one way or another. As long as it's clean. Thing is though, he's getting ever closer, and Best Mate qualified P5 in fact. So he's definitely got the pace tonight here in France. But he just doesn't have the luck. The nearest Mercedes car to score any points here today. And this might be the fight that we need to look out for. Brownie under pressure from the Mercedes on a wet track. Which from my point of view doesn't get much more wetter than it already is. So the Inters are probably going to stick on these cars until the end of the race. And I wouldn't even be surprised if no more pit stops will come any longer. A good exit is all he needs. Best Mate then challenging Brownie for P10. So far, Brownie is doing quite well, keeping him behind. He's able to close the gap, but he's not able to get side by side or have at least a little look. We have a spin there. Was it Candy King? I think actually it was Jakach moving out of the way of several drivers as he's now being lapped. You really don't want that. But it's happened. Now then, Best Mate backing off a little bit there, hoping for a better exit. Not getting back down by the car, but it is already 6/10 coming onto this straight. So I'm quite sure it's much too far away to do anything. He's not using any ERS either. So it's no good for now. But he keeps on piling that pressure. And here is the next battle to come. BrainStew has now closed the gap to 1.3 seconds to the other McLaren and Magnetar there. But so far, my man of the match actually has to be Mark. From P10 all the way up to P4. The perfect strategy with the medium tires. Absolutely flawless. Avoiding all accidents, avoiding all spins. Came in at the right time for the intermediates. And there he is then in 4th position. It doesn't look like he's able to close the gap to the men ahead, Verdex and P3. But he's here. A battle between the pad gods. Yes, I do know that Brainstew is on a pad. And Magnetar is as well then. Well, here we are. He's already within a second. He is rapid, this man. He might even potentially go for P4. After falling to P14. About 15 laps ago. 14, 13 laps ago, maybe. He has now closed the gap to 5th place. And sooner or later, this man, the Italian guy, the Italian boss, Mr. Mafia, will attack. I'm trying to think of an interesting nickname here, but I'm not very good at them. Best mate in the meanwhile, slowly starting to lose out again to Brownie. And in fact, he's gonna have to look in his rear mirror soon, as Candy King is approaching both of them as well. Only 1.6 seconds separating him from the Mercedes ahead. The Stew, yeah, it's an excellent nickname. The Stew in the Alfa Romeo. There he is then, the Stew approaching Magnetar. Trying to go for 5th place. And Magnetar, in fact, doing everything he can to close the gap to Mark. To get a bit of slipstream at least. But the pressure is definitely on. Can he keep Brainstew behind? Overtaking is exceptionally difficult, as we can see now that DRS is disabled. The straights are long. But the slipstream isn't as powerful as they're hoping. Avi, in fact, staying out of the slipstream there as his, oh dear, it's its teammate. Whoa! The AI of Luca. Nearly causing a bit of an issue there. Jakac retiring from the session. It is, I think, in the pit lane though. For a moment there I thought it was on track, but he does retire in pit lane. That means no safety car will be triggered and the field will remain spread out as is. So 3 cars now out of the race, Jakac, Burkhan and Yari. As Harlem is draining his battery to stay away from Magnetar, who is now pushing hard, both to close that gap to the car ahead of him and to keep Brainstew behind, so the battle is really on now. The thing is, people can do strange things under pressure, and now we see here though, Mark having a bit of a time penalty. That's a problem. Yep, 3 seconds. That's going to cause an issue for him. It's good news though for 3 cars behind him. Potentially, he'll drop to P7 if he cannot increase the gap here. So that's bad news. Very bad news for him indeed. Yellow flag, we have a spinner. It's Eruption, in fact. Spun again and he's completely lost his front wing. Not a great day for the man who crashed in qualifying as well. I think he'll want to forget this day as soon as he can. I wouldn't be surprised if he heads into the pit to retire. That's his race pretty much over. No more chance unless a safety car is triggered. But judging by the driving of this group, I find it quite unlikely that a safety car will happen. And not only that, of course, this track usually doesn't really invite a safety car anyway. As it stands though, Vexit in the lead, Moon in 2nd place, Verdex having picked up a penalty as well, is no longer in 2nd place on paper. He's gonna have to race for it now. He's gonna have to close that gap, but it's tough. It's really tough. The conditions are tricky. Brainstew closing the gap, but he's not able to get that overtake done just yet. Mostly because Magnetar is trying to go as fast as he can to stick with Mark ahead of him. 4/10, less than 4/10 now. Might he have a daring go in this corner? That would be immensely brave, especially considering it was 3/10 of a second difference there. That would have been an almighty lunge. Of course, he wouldn't risk it, knowing that his championship is at stake here tonight. Any points he can score will be welcome, I'm quite sure. He already knows that he'll be in P5 regardless at the moment, as Mark got that 3-second penalty. So he will score 10 points, and he will see the gap between himself and Vexit getting close by another 16 points, reducing it to about, if my math is correct, to about 20 to 24 points. And then with 4 races to go, it's going to be exciting. Definitely a championship to watch out for if Vexit keeps this up, and he does. Almost 5 seconds to his teammate, no penalties picked up whatsoever. A mighty race there for Mr. Luke Smith. This looks like a pretty good exit there for Brainstew. Less than half a second and the gap is slowly starting to come down there. He can see the car getting bigger and bigger ahead of him. But I think it's not going to be enough just yet, unless he can brake exceptionally late, which he wouldn't dare to do, of course. And Mark is starting to struggle now. Magnetar, having closed the gap to half a second only, might have made a bit of a mistake there. But he already knows he's going to be overtaken after the finish line anyway. Will he defend hard? Brainstew there. Now he's going for it. He's going to have a look there. Is he going to have a try here? Just having a look, putting him under pressure massively, in the hopes of him making a mistake. There he goes, trying on the inside, nearly side by side. He wouldn't dare. But now he's going to have a fight on his hands. If he can overtake Magnetar, it will be a P4 for him, and that will be the best he can manage after his spin. And he will have a go. There he goes, then on the inside, in the final corner, a lunge there. He tried, but he failed, and that now manages to get Avi right behind him. However, using all of his battery, he's gonna have to defend and attack at the same time now. Dearie me, none of them are letting go of each other. It's like they're bound by one another by a 2-meter chain or something like that. They're all pretty much as quick as one another, but he is piling on pressure. Piling and piling and piling. It's just a matter of well, I don't know, laps until one of them is going to make a big mistake here. And Brainstew have a look everywhere, left, right, center. However, the one who can actually have a go now is Avi. Only 4/10 behind Brainstew, though, having a much better exit than Magnetar. He's gonna have a real go this time, using battery whenever he can, but Magnetar staying ahead still. Let's see what the battery of Magnetar is. It's also very low. Brainstew having only a little bit more there in his ERS system. He needs the good exits. The gap is closing still. 1/10 of a second, side by side into turn 10. And he is ahead. He's managed to do it finally after being stuck behind Magnetar for several laps. He is now into 5th place and 4th place, in fact, as Mark has actually got that penalty. Brainstew then elevating himself even further into more points. Trying to limit the damage, mitigate the damage as much as possible. And Magnetar, in fact, now under pressure from Avi, who also would like to have a go there, just as Brainstew did. One of the bollards falling over in the meantime. So Magnetar cracked under pressure, and now he's going to have to defend from the AlphaTauri behind him. Let's see what Avi can do on the back straight. Close the gap and then go for the overtake. He's got quite a lot of ERS left, in fact. And I'm quite sure he knows that the cars ahead of him do not have that much battery. So he's just gonna have to be patient. Brainstew letting Mark go for a little bit there, charging up his battery. With only 3 laps to go. It's going quicker than I thought. Here he goes then, using all the battery he saved. Yeah, he already knows it's not going to be enough. He can have a look, he can close the gap. Maybe he can have the same overtake as Brainstew did, which was an awesome one. Great one to see. 3/10 then, 2/10 coming down, ever down. Brainstew was about 2/10 here, and Avi at about the same, but he cannot go side by side just yet. You really have to have faith in the other driver, though, to get these. Oh no! Avi actually tried and nearly lost the car, but an amazing save there. Keeps him on the track, but that is his chance over to get into 6th place. A bit too enthusiastic there, if I might be bold. But he managed to keep the car on track and prevented any further disaster. That has calmed down the battle for the time being, though, with 2 laps to go. Avi then will remain into P7. Unless he can close the gap again. He is going to try, that's for sure. 2 laps to go. Can he still do anything? Brainstew in the meantime, keeping the gap. Well managed to Mark. In that way he can keep his tires and engine cool enough. While still maintaining the gap at about 1.2 seconds. He knows he doesn't have to overtake Mark, so no tricky moves there. He knows P4 is in the back pretty much. Unless he picks up a penalty himself, of course. So I'm quite sure he's also driving a bit more careful. To make sure that he doesn't get that penalty. Someone who tried everything and didn't drive as careful as he should have been is Avi here, in fact. Took a bit too much risk. A tough place to overtake. Yeah, those Twitch ads are kind of annoying, aren't they? There's nothing I can do about it, unfortunately. For several reasons. First of all, I don't think any Twitch stream has an effect on any ads. And second of all, this is not my Twitch channel. I'm just Frostbreath streaming through a Twitch stream key. We see an overtake happening here, though. Oh, a big fight going on, in fact. Oh, dear. What's going on? Several things are happening now. In fact, for some reason, Vertex is heading into the pit lane. What's happened here? It's... Oh, no! It's an actual puncture. The man's got a puncture, and that's his podium gone. Vertex losing a podium, sorry, thanks to a puncture. So that means all of these tires are pretty much on the limit. Brainstew then, in the meanwhile, getting past Mark, who's struggling with his tires as well. I think... Oh, it nearly looks like he has a puncture as he's got a puncture as well. That means Brainstew, to the great dismay of Vaxit, is back onto the podium. I cannot believe the luck this man sometimes has. Late lap drama then. As Vertex has decided, now that he's outside of the points anyway, to go for the soft tires. Oh, dearie me. What's going on in the final lap? Good God. Can they keep their tires alive? Now that's going to be an interesting thing. Vertex then has already retired. That's him out of the race after nearly getting that 3rd place. So unfortunate that puncture was for him. Magnetar in the meanwhile is starting to struggle more and more. And Avi is going to have another chance here for P5. Will he have to go for a late lunge? One more chance in the final lap. Can we actually film this before we have to switch to the race leader about to win the French Grand Prix? It does look like he's going to have a go. No more risk for him then. And here we have him, ladies and gentlemen, a commanding victory. 7 seconds over his teammate. The winner, Vaxit. The winner of the French Grand Prix. An epic job, well done by him. The Haas 1-2 in the meanwhile is completed by Moon, who nearly took out his car a bit too early there. 2nd place there. And I think this man especially cannot believe his luck, as actually Avi managed to do it. He managed to get ahead. Brainstew getting 3rd place. Mark going to P4, falling to P6. And Avi then, the last corner move, elevating him to P4 due to the penalty of Mark. Then we have Magnetar coming home 5th, and that is already it. There's a penalty. Brainstew P2. I don't think that's supposed to be correct. He was way too far behind Moon. So it has to be a Haas 1-2. I don't think Moon had that much of a penalty. Let's have a quick look though. As Vaxit, rightfully so, celebrates his victory there. Yeah, only 3 seconds for Moon. No, Brain isn't in P2. So here we have it then, an interesting race. Epic to see Vaxit gaining 11 points in the driver standings over Brainstew. Moon in second place, a Haas 1-2. They are definitely going for that constructor's title here. Brainstew in third, Avi in P4, Magnetar in fifth place, Mark to P6, Dimitrio in fact having a nice race from 14th to 7th, Brownie in P8, 9th for Candy King, and 10th for Pro to Go. Oh really, Lovell? If you dive to well, he didn't die technically. He still had all 4 tires on, so I'm not entirely sure. Either way, if he did manage to get himself a penalty due to that, that's not very smart. Anyway, Best Mate in 11th, Vertex in P12, Joshua in 13th, the AI of Luca in P14, and then we have the DNFs here of Eruption, Jekach, Burkan, and Yari. Let's go to the interview waiting room. And let's see if anybody on the top 3 is in for an interview. Let's hope so. Because I would be interested to hear from the winner, of course. But I'd be very interested to hear from Brainstew, who's had his luck turned around twice. Spinning and then getting back into third place. Absolutely insane. Let's see if I can actually call them to the interview room, as I currently don't see anybody waiting for me. Or at least waiting for an interview. There we are. We actually have the opportunity here to interview the man of the match. It's Vexit, aka Luke Smith. First and foremost, congratulations on your commanding victory and your commanding pole position, of course. Now, I use that term, but I'm curious to know, do you yourself consider this to be a commanding victory tonight?
Sorry. I would say not particularly, because I made a bit of a mistake. I underestimated like how bad the slicks would be on that in lap, I think. I can't remember what lap, but I wanted to try and stay out one more so that Moon would be able to pit behind me and not stack. And then that way we'd get a Haas 1-2, which worked, but it got a little bit scary. So there were points where it was a little bit out of control and a bit scary, but yeah, I'd say that was a very well driven and quite comfortable. I wouldn't say like commanding, but like a solid, well driven race, I'd say.
Yeah, incredibly, actually. We saw several drivers going for the mediums and some others going for the hard tires. Did you already think this through? Which tires would be the best with the rain coming up?
It was a little bit of a gamble to go on the mediums, but I did feel like even if it was the rain was going to come later, I thought it would be better, because the hards just have no grip around Paul Ricard unless you have like mega high tire pressures and are able to get heat into them. It's a bit of a struggle to actually use them. So considering there was rain coming and it wasn't going to be like lap 21 or something, I just thought, yeah, I think the mediums would be the right way to go. I'll be able to build a gap, and yeah, that was quite a difficult decision, but glad we chose the right one in the end.
And to continue the topic of tires, we saw Vertex getting a puncture just before the last lap happened on his intermediates. How worn were yours?
Personally, that's a horrible feeling to have. I've had it before at this very track, as some of the viewers may know. But my tires were only around mid-50s, so they weren't particularly worn, but obviously staying out that extra lap would have helped. But I don't know how we got a puncture, because my tires weren't really anywhere near the drop-off point with a puncture. So yeah, it's really unfortunate, but as I had to do last season, we live and we learn, and yeah, hopefully next season he can repeat what I did and win the race.
Yep, let's hope so for his sake. Last thing I'm interested in, Drivers and Constructors Championship are looking both more and more favorable for you, as well as for your team. With 4 races to go, how do you see your chances for that?
Well, obviously, I've still got a little bit of a gap to close to Brainstew in terms of the Drivers' Championship. In terms of the constructors, we're doing very well. Considering both me and Matteo joined mid-season, we've done a pretty good job. We haven't had many really weak races, I would say. So it's still gonna be difficult to catch in the drivers' championship to Brains do, but I'll give it my all. And if it's not enough, then I'll just finish P2. But happy that I gave it my all.
All right, cheers. Thank you for all the insights. Enjoy your victory, and well, let's see what you can do next week in Spain.
Thank you very much.
All right. Now then, let's move on to the man who came in second place, the teammate, in fact, of Luke Smith here. Going by the name of Moon, but known in the driver standings as Matteo. First of all, incredible drive. I think you must be extremely happy with the second place coming from quite far back on the grid.
Yeah, I'm not Matteo.
Oh, wow, okay, I got it completely wrong. Sorry about that.
Yeah, whatever. Yeah, pretty good race. I fucked up. Oh, I messed up quali. Sorry. But yeah, was pretty good. I managed to get pretty good start in the dry, and then managed to just get through the field on the mediums, and then the rain came at the perfect time. And yeah, just managed to stay in P2 on the wets. I knew I was not going to be quick enough to challenge Vexit, but
yeah, I was just about to ask, because at some point you were 1.4 seconds behind him due to him going in a lap later. Was victory ever going through your head?
No. I was talking with him in voice chat, and yeah, I know Vexit. I know he's a lot quicker than me in the rain. Mostly because he's really good in rain and I'm pretty bad. So yeah, it was never really an option for me. Yeah, and then I picked up the penalty as well, so that really was not an option. I was just focused about keeping the P2, and then the guy behind me got a penalty as well. So after that was pretty relaxed.
Yeah, he even got a puncture, so that must have relieved even more pressure from you. Yes, Vertex had to come in to change tires because suddenly his left front, in fact, had a puncture. So how much worn were your tires actually?
Yeah, we contemplated that in the voice chat, but we didn't expect him to get a puncture because my tires were like 60%, and Vexit he pitted a lap later than me, so he was on like 55 at that point. So I don't really know what happened to him, but I was comfortably out of the puncture territory.
All right, well then, a Haas 1-2 for you both. Well done. Let's hope you can continue this momentum the final 4 races.
Yeah.
All right, cheers. Thank you for joining us.
No problem.
And let's move on to the final podium man. The man who's, well, first and foremost, I have to add a little something here. It's thanks to this man who's in the voice chat right now, Range2, that I am here in this commentating position. So first and foremost, thank you for giving me this opportunity. It's been a big honor to commentate on several races already, and now the first time commentating on your tier. So far as I can see, you've been comfortably leading the Drivers' Championship. How was today for you? Because so many things happened.
Yeah, before the race, I was talking with my teammate, and I said, if there's one thing I don't want today is rain, because I had literally zero practice, and of course it rained, and quality went actually better than I expected, because before was quite good.
Okay,
but,
so with this knowledge, did you expect P4 in qualifying?
No. With the rain, I didn't. At least in the second half of the top 10. But P4 was a bit of a surprise.
All right, and then race, going to the race, yeah, that's where it happened. The spin. What happened there?
Yeah, just spin on the exit of turn 2 with the curb. A mistake I actually never made while practicing, but you know, these things happen. and I just kept pushing, and because I knew it was gonna rain, and many things could happen. So
Curious, by
yeah,
the
and
way, the
it
tire you chose was the hard tire. Several others started on the medium. Did you actually regret going on the hard, or were you standing by your choice?
no, no. I think it was the safest choice. You know, not knowing when the rain was coming, and with the hard tire, you were sure you were gonna make it to to, to the rain. I although Exit went on the medium, I saw that at the start, and was wondering if it were the correct choice, and in the end it was, because it was just in time for the rain.
Yeah, the rain came at the perfect moment for the medium tire users. In the end, you actually managed to claw back up to P3, so Vexit only managed to close the gap to you and the driver standing by just quote-unquote 11 points. With 4 races to go, do you feel the pressure from behind now?
Yeah, surely it's starting to feel a bit scary. Exit, you know, is very fast, and is surely gonna keep pushing to close the gap even more. And one or two tracks I'm not really comfortable, and I think Mexico, Brazil, and yeah, I will just have to stay consistent and keep pushing.
All right, let's see what you can do in the final 4 races of the season. Enjoy your lucky podium tonight. Well, lucky, actually quite well deserved after all the things that have happened. And let's see next week in Spain.
Thank you.
All right, cheers. And that would be it for tonight, all the interviews. Interestingly, it was quite interesting to hear that Vexit thought the medium was the right choice and Branch2 thinking the hard was the right choice. But in the end, noticing that the rain came just in time for those medium tire users, for them to be having that optimal strategy. A very unlucky day for Verdex, getting a puncture in the second to last lap. That's quite sad. So unfortunate to him. Otherwise, that would have been a podium for the Williams driver. All in all, quite an exciting race. Once again, apologies for mixing up 2 drivers there in the interviews. Again, I'm still quite new, and it's all thanks to Branch2 that I've been given the opportunity to commentate for the Misfits Racing League. It's been an absolute pleasure. Been a great race, absolutely awesome. Next week, as you can see on the calendar here, will be Spain. Another interesting and technical track with overtaking being quite hard to do. But you never know in racing leagues. Let's find out what will happen. Thank you so much for watching. Enjoy your day, night, afternoon, wherever you are. And I will see you next time, next week. You will hear me in Tier 4. Good night.